Welcome back to The Observable Unknown, and thank you for listening to the 9th installment in our Mailbag series. Today's question comes from Nicoletta C., whose reflection opens a door into one of the most quietly powerful forces shaping human consciousness, language itself. Nicoletta C. wrote, "I really enjoyed your podcast on how language defines us. I thought about it quite a bit. How I feel and see the world depending on what language I'm speaking, especially if it's self-talk. Another fascinating aspect of it is gender and gendered nouns. My first language, Hungarian, is a genderless language. No gendered nouns or pronouns used at all. Even after 30 years of speaking English and other languages, I still mix up pronouns, him, her. Such a fascinating subject. I wonder if all of the languages are in the same region of the brain, or they use different parts, especially if someone is a bilingual or a polyglot." Nicoletta, you're writing about Hungarian, a language without grammatical gender, and about English, which requires constant gender assignment. You've already noticed how your perception shifts depending on which language you're using, especially in self-talk. And you ask a precise and important question. Do different languages live in the same regions of the brain, or do they recruit different neural systems in bilingual and polyglot minds? This is not only a linguistic question, it is a question about identity. Language does not simply label experience, it organizes it. The Russian psychologist Lev Vygotsky argued in the early 20th century that inner speech emerges from social dialogue, slowly folding inward as children mature. Thought, in this view, is not prior to language, it is shaped by it. Modern neuroscience has supported this insight. Functional magnetic resonance imaging studies by Evelina Fedorenko at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology have shown that internal speech activates core language networks even when no sound is being produced. Broca's region in the left frontal lobe, associated with speech planning, and Wernicke's region in the temporal lobe, associated with comprehension. Auditory cortex behaving as though the brain were listening to itself. When you notice that your inner experience changes depending on the language you're using, this isn't metaphorical. Different linguistic systems are recruiting overlapping but distinct neural patterns, shaping attention and emotion in real time. The self speaks differently because the brain is working differently. Hungarian belongs to a small group of languages that do not encode grammatical gender. English, however, does. This distinction matters. Research led by Lera Boroditsky at Stanford University has shown that speakers of gendered languages unconsciously attribute gendered qualities to objects. In controlled experiments, speakers described bridges, keys, and abstract concepts differently depending on the grammatical gender assigned in their native language. In genderless languages, those associations never become habitual. So, when you continue to mix up him and her after decades of fluency, this is not error or carelessness. Instead, it reflects the persistence of an earlier cognitive framework. Your brain was never trained to treat gender as a primary sorting mechanism. Language leaves residue, even when fluent minds retain their first architecture. Neuroimaging studies of bilingual individuals suggest a layered organization rather than a split one. Work by Ping Li and Arturo Hernandez has shown that early acquired languages tend to share neural real estate more fully, while later acquired languages recruit additional regions involved in cognitive control, particularly the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. This means that speaking a second or third language often requires active inhibition of the others. The brain must decide which linguistic system to allow forward and which to restrain. This constant negotiation strengthens executive function. Studies by Ellen Bialystok have shown that bilingual individuals often demonstrate enhanced attentional control and cognitive flexibility, even later in life. The mind that speaks many languages becomes practiced at holding contradiction. One of the most consistent findings in bilingual research is that emotional processing remains more strongly tied to the first language. Psychologist Catherine Caldwell Harris has demonstrated that emotional words, swear words, and moral judgments elicit stronger physiological responses when processed in a speaker's native tongue. This may explain why prayer, grief, or self-soothing often feel more authentic in one language than in another. The first language is woven into emotional memory during development. Later languages can become fluent, but they rarely carry the same visceral charge. The observable unknown here is subtle. Fluency does not guarantee intimacy. Polyglot speakers often report feeling like slightly different versions of themselves depending on the language they're using. this isn't fragmentation, it's contextual identity. Each language carries its own assumptions about time, agency, politeness, blame, and certainty. Moving between them teaches the brain that no single worldview is complete. The self, in this light, is not singular, it is adaptive. Nicoletta, your question reveals something quietly profound. Language does not merely describe who we are, it trains us in how to perceive, how to judge, and how to speak to ourselves when no one else is listening. If your first language never required you to gender the world, then your mind learned a different way of sorting reality. If later languages impose categories that feel unnatural, the friction you feel is not confusion, it is awareness. Tonight, notice the language of your inner voice. Notice how it frames effort, error, kindness, and certainty. Ask yourself whether another language might offer a different way of holding the same experience. And if this reflection has stirred something in you, I would love to hear from you. You can contact me through my website, drjuancarlosrey.com or crowscupboard.com. And wherever you have listened to this podcast, please consider leaving a rating and review. Your words will help this work reach those who are listening carefully. Thank you for thinking across languages, and until next time, this has been The Observable Unknown.